stranger to the way the game is played. Welcome to the first chapter. I'm glad that you flipped the page. In the early days, the boy felt alone and afraid.
You tell me whenever we're ready.
100%, man. Well, we're rolling. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Pursuit of Motion. It's a great pleasure to be here with Eduardo.
Thank you for having me.
Man. One of the best dressed guests up to this point. Looking great. So, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today.
That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. Eduardo, the inspiration for this episode is he actually went on a podcast with another student.
Yeah, shout out to Emily.
Shout out to Emily, president of the Schwartz Business Society.
Yeah,
so that's fantastic.
Co-president with another good friend of ours, Anna.
With Anna, yeah. So that is very cool. And that conversation really inspired me to speak to you. Now, we've known each other the whole time I've been at STFX. But I don't think I think maybe I took for granted your position as a leader. And then hearing you express your thoughts in that way, I just knew we had to have that conversation.
Awesome. Oh,
so
excited.
You do a lot of things. You're a boxer, and not just a backyard fighter, but like someone who's skilled and put a lot of years in training in. You're a major representative for international students. You're part of multiple programs. Yeah. I mean, you're a lab instructor as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Before we get into that, I want to know, so where are you from?
Well, first of all, I wanna say congratulations on the new album.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations on the new album. I'm very excited to listen to it. I know albums are a lot of work, and it's I'm very excited that you put a whole project, you know. So congratulations on that. Congratulations. Thanks, on 750 subscribers as well. 1,000 is just right next door. So congratulations on that. I'm very, very happy for you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I'm from Mexico. I'm from Mexico City, but I lived in many places. I lived in the city. I lived in the state, which is a little farther away from it. I live in Tabasco, it's another state. Puebla, another state. I lived in Germany for a while.
Wow.
In Heidelberg. That was amazing. I loved it. And then I'm right here in Canada, in Nova Scotia. Yeah.
So that's a lot of travel. Were you moving around a lot with your family, or?
Yes, big time. Big time. When I was little, we moved a lot. Oh, by the way, I also saw your podcast with Igor, and then I saw your podcast with Zoe. So I know you moved.
Zoe, yeah.
Well. Yeah, it was very impressive, by the way. I gotta say, your backstory is quite a story.
Thanks, man. Just the fact that you took the time to listen means a lot. And yeah, Zoe's fantastic. It's been I mean, this podcast has been such a great pleasure. And part of it is the ability to connect with people on that other level, and then just hope that other people sort of feel that energy as well. Yeah. And so, yeah, I also have done a lot of traveling. But so what was your favorite place that you lived growing up?
Well, growing up, I really didn't like moving. And I've always been a sentimental kid. Always been a sentimental kid. And I remember even small changes around the house. When my mom used to paint the walls a different color, I would get very upset. Very, very upset. And I would start crying because I was very attached to the walls. And I don't know. So I really didn't like moving. I hated moving every time, but it got easier every time. I think I moved like 18 times, something like that. And it got easier every time, and now I travel lighter and lighter every time. So I've enjoyed every place. I love Canada. I'll tell you that. I really like it here. It's nice.
I also really like it in Canada. Yeah, it's great. What brought you to STFX? Did you come specifically to Canada for university, or were you in Canada for a while? And
I did come to Canada for university, but my story of how I got into STFX is it's not very interesting. I'll be honest. My brother was studying here before, and he was living off campus, and it was a good financial decision for the family if I was gonna go travel abroad. I really wanted to go to university back in Germany. I remember that, but my brother was already studying here, and if we could live together and we could, you know, look at each other's back and look for ourselves. So I moved here with my brother. He was studying STFX, so I moved to STFX. I don't regret it. It has been amazing. I really, really like it.
Do you have a bunch of siblings?
I have one brother only, elder brother. But I've always felt like the elder myself. Yeah, I'm always taking care of him.
You're a responsibility-centered guy, to say the least, from the things that we've experienced together.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I've got one younger sister.
How is it?
Yeah, it's I am also the responsible one. Don't get mad at me. No, it's good. It's cool. It's
How
nice
old
to
is
be a
she?
sibling. She's a few years younger than me. Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, so 21 now. How old's your brother?
2 years older than me.
2 years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, 23.
And so, what are you studying here at STFX?
I'm a finance major, 4th year. But I'm a psychology minor. And although I really like finances, I really, really like finances. I like math. I like the math that's involved with them. I genuinely care about the markets and economics. I enjoy reading economics papers. Sometimes not much about the math, but I like the thinking of economic papers. Igor taught me that curiosity, I would say.
Really?
Yeah. So I really like that, but I don't know. I'm never in Schwartz. Schwartz is the business building. I'm never there. Don't like it. Don't like the vibe that it gives off. You know, I feel like sometimes business students really bring this "I'm better than you" vibe to school. So, matter of fact, I really don't have many friends from business. I can count them with one hand. I have friends from many other majors. Most of my time I spend in Mulroney. I used to now spend in Bloomfield because my office is there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a psych minor, so I spend some time in Bruce Brown taking psychology classes. It's awesome. I've taken classes with your girl.
Yeah, I remember that, and I tend to agree. I don't do much studying in Schwartz. It is a darker building, I find.
Yeah.
Whereas this building that we're in, Mulroney, I mean, it's bright, big windows.
I like it.
It is a different sort of vibe. I would say I haven't had the same experience as you as far as like students and the rest of the vibes. Yeah, but I mean, I also like to try and make that connection everywhere I go as well.
I think I'm good with it. I think I'm good with the connection, but
I think you are, yeah.
I don't know what is it specifically. We business students have a bad rep across campus. I'll tell you that.
So I've heard. Yeah.
I try my best to break the stereotype. Well, break the stereotypes. I tried my best to break stereotypes. Any stereotype that I can, you know? Like, maybe you feel this way, but as immigrants, I feel we don't get to represent just ourselves, you know? Like, if I decide to do something stupid, you know, there's a lot of people that will assume it's not only me, I'm not representing only myself, but I'm representing, you know, Mexican people. And a lot of people will say like, oh, Mexicans are dumb, or Mexicans will do this and that. So, I don't know.
You know, I did have a similar experience like that growing up. Like, I grew up in a very rural town, and
yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Before my family came to Canada, there was some Turkish guy, some gang member in the town that I ended up moving to, that killed a police officer.
Wow.
And so my whole life growing up, once we got to Canada, was very like, be aware of who you're around, because Turkish people in this town have a certain reputation.
It's a shame, and we really don't get to represent ourselves only as other people can. So I do my best to break stereotypes as I can. And it sucks when I fulfill them. It sucks when I am the stereotype. You know, I am loud. I love partying. I love dancing. I cook Mexican food, and it sucks when I feel like I am the stereotype, right? So it's a delicate balance between I wanna show off who I am, how I was brought up, you know, the culture where I grew up, and also I don't wanna fulfill the stereotype, and I wanna simulate. It's a tough balance. It is a tough balance. But that's tangent.
It's one of those things that I feel like you got to just always be aware of the way you present yourself. And maybe it is easy to say some of us have to present ourselves in ways that other people may not have to deal with, but that's the whole study of sociology, right? Everybody's got something they're dealing with, or something that sets them in a particular way that they feel like maybe sets them apart from society. But I wanna circle back a little bit and ask about finance and psychology. That's an interesting combination. Do you find that there's overlap in the sense that you can utilize some of the things you've learned, cross departmentally, or do you think they're two completely different worlds?
They shouldn't be different worlds. I don't think so. But most of the finance courses I've taken are not sales forwards. What major are you?
I'm an entrepreneurship major with a political science minor.
All right. Well, like most finance courses are like theoretical. It's math. It's looking at if you want to. I know it can be very easy, but if you really want to learn, you have to learn the math and like the theory behind it. And most classes are theoretical. They're not sales based. You're not using like, oh, I'm gonna use this psychological trick to sell more or something like that. You really don't do that. I did professional sales, 333. It sucked. It sucked.
Really?
I hated it.
I'm in that next semester. I have been excited
Who's your
about
prof?
it. I don't know. I didn't check.
All right, I hated it. Some people liked it. I thought it was so silly, so silly, so basic, And at the same time, it really didn't. It's not what I expected from the class.
So is that because you have this background in psychology? It felt very high level. It felt very much like they weren't talking about the specifics. Is that, or do you think maybe it was your experience with the professor?
I remember we had a class talking about handshakes. And it's like, oh, how they handshake. It's like, that's stupid. I'm sorry, but I don't want to go to university. I'm paying tuition. I don't want to go to university for a class on handshakes. It's so ridiculous. I'm sorry, but that's very ridiculous. And my finance classes have been good. I have great profs. VJ, Babik, Nada. They have been great, but I don't know. I didn't like professional sales. So finance and psychology shouldn't be separate, but they are, unfortunately, in STFX. They are. And economics and psychology are completely separate. And economists will tell you that it's the opposite. They're wrong. They're wrong because most of the economic models assume that consumers are rational.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is so silly. It's so silly. Recently, like, there's been the whole psychological economics or something like that, and we're trying to, like, make consumers humans. But it's incredible that it took us so long to get there. So, yeah, I don't know. I chose psychology because I like psychology. That's the only reason I chose it. I didn't choose it because, I want to sell better or I'm going to use it to leverage finance. No, I just chose it because I liked it.
That makes sense. It seems like a fundamental flaw to operate from the baseline that everyone's rational with their money. I bet you anything, my last 5 purchases, only 3 of them were rational. Most likely.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, it's fun. I love economics. I love how they justify their models. And models are not perfect. They're trying to explain really particular things in how economics work. But, I don't know. I'm interested in what academics will bring forward soon. With this new wave of injecting psychology into economics. But then psychology is very weird in the fact that it's a Western, educated, industrialized, rich democratic. It's most psychological studies have been in the U.S. and most subjects have been university students, Psych 101 students. So it's such a small demographic that we really don't know about human psychology. We know about Psych 101 students from the U.S. And lately there's been an attempt to do cross-cultural studies, and we're finding some really interesting cross-cultural differences in psychology. For example, we believed that, for a really long time, we believed that cognitive dissonance was universal. Cognitive dissonance is when you hold 2 beliefs that oppose themselves, that it's impossible to hold them together. Like if you hold, it's very warm outside, but it's very cold outside, like you feel uncomfortable. Like cognitively, right?
I'm a Turkish person and a Canadian citizen.
For example, that could be an example, right? But it turns out that cognitive dissonance affects more liberal people, and liberal in the sense of liberalism.
Yeah.
Not any party or whatever. Like people who think of the individual more get more affected by it. People who come from more communitarian societies, where being part of the group is more important than being a sole individual, don't suffer from cognitive dissonance as much. Because they are able to switch their beliefs easier depending on the group or the role they're playing on society, which is very interesting. And we're finding stuff like this, and it's new. And so we have to take that into account when we inject psychology into economics. We have to be like, okay, which psychology are we injecting, right? I'm excited. I really, really, really like economics.
That is really interesting. So you're saying that communitarians, people who live in societies that are a little bit more traditionally conservative, maybe they have an easier time of avoiding cognitive dissonance. And I wonder, they say that our way of remaining mentally sane is by bouncing ideas off of other people and getting that reflection of what's societally acceptable. So it seems like what you're saying is just in those countries, in those parts of the world where maybe dialogue might not be as open, but is more abundant. People have a better idea of the way society should look.
I don't know. Yes, I know these things that I think are fascinating, but I'm still a student. I'm still a student, and I'm an undergrad student. I don't know. And I don't know if countries with more of a communitarian sense are necessarily more conservative. I don't know if that's the case. Because then again, like for example, Marxism, right? Marxism would be a very left-leaning, progressive idea, right? But still is a very community-forward mode of production. And so Marxism, although it's more progressive, so the opposite of conservative, would be, like in my hypothesis right now, it would be less susceptible to cognitive dissonance. So it's not necessarily that communitarian societies are more conservative. So there's so many details in there. So my answer to that is, I don't know.
That's fair.
But it's an incredible question.
It's fun to be able to ask those sorts of questions.
It is an incredible question.
And think
That's
about
an honors thesis question.
I'm considering writing an honors thesis, and I haven't committed to that yet.
It's hard work.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the first time we met. There's kind of like a two-part story. I'm sure like there's no way you remember, but I remember the first time that I met you. And one of the first days of school, I found out there was a boxing society. It's going on at like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. like later on in the evening. Yeah. Me and the boys, we showed up. I had some sparring gear. I did Muay Thai for 3-4 months, maybe in grade 11. And then I broke my toe, and I had to pick between fighting and hockey. And hockey is an upfront payment, and fighting was a monthly payment. And so the hockey payment had already been made, and that was the end of my fighting career. But I just knew that there was going to be an opportunity, so I brought my gear with me to STFX, and sure enough, Boxing Society. And I remember there's a room of like 40, 50 people, like all people who weren't part of the program. Like who had not been in the Boxing Society before. And you had a group of maybe 10 to 15 students that were drilling with each other and were just ferocious. Like, I don't think I'll ever forget the first time I was afraid of a woman. Like, physically afraid. Like, it's not a large amount of times in my life that's been the feeling. But I remember seeing a girl, like, striking the pads. And it was so fast and the sound was so furious. I was like, oh my God, like this guy is teaching them something different. And the way that you commanded that room of people, like everybody's high testosterone, everybody's ready to start throwing punches at each other. Like you hear Boxing Society, and many of us, especially untrained people like me, we have the thought of like, oh, I'm just going to go red and I'm going to kick ass. Yeah, exactly. And so, but seeing the way that you commanded that room, it really, it got a lot of respect from me, especially as a student. Like, it's very tough as a student to step out and say, okay, I am in charge of this situation.
That was second year for me, right? It would have been first year?
Yes, my first year, your second year, yeah. And then not long afterwards, I went to a party at your place with some friends. I believe it was Halloween at that point.
Oh, shit, no way you were at one of my Halloween parties.
I was at your Halloween party. And like this guy, the energy was off the chain. It was a great place. It was a lot of fun, and especially as someone, you didn't even know me, when you invited me into your home, you gave me aux. You said, pick a song. We want to hear what you want to listen to.
No, I'm starting to remember that part. Yeah.
And so it showed a few things. A, you're very comfortable with yourself because you're in these environments. You're willing to lead a group. You're willing to have people in your home. But you're a personable guy, obviously. If you're having parties, if you're someone that we can have a conversation with. But just, you were kind. You were very kind to this first-year student that you didn't owe anything to. And so I think that speaks really highly of your character.
Thank you.
I did not pursue Boxing Society, obviously. I have maintained.
It ended after second year because they closed the gym. Coming back this year, hopefully.
Yeah,
plotting my shit here.
Yeah, 100%. If we get the opportunity to have the Boxing Society kick up, so for those of you who don't know, the gym was closed for a year. So that sort of stopped the society. But I remember even you were posting every single day until the start of Boxing Society, you shadow boxing outside.
Yep.
like committed daily, and is very impressive. And so,
Thank you.
when did you start boxing, and why did you start boxing?
Well, I've been doing martial arts most of my life. Martial arts are most of my life. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. I did karate for a little while, and then I went back to karate recently this summer. Now knowing boxing, Muay Thai, and Taekwondo, that was very fun. I did karate I'm a black belt, so it was many years till I got that black belt. Then I stopped fighting a little bit. I started martial arts because my dad is a black belt as well, and he really wanted me to start martial arts. I hated it.
So your dad was a black belt, and he wanted you to get into fighting.
Yes. My dad is a black belt, and he wanted me to get into fighting, and I hated it. I didn't want to go to class because it was painful. It was painful. It was exercise. It was when you're kicking and punching in my traditional martial arts, you don't use gloves, so straight to the skin, and it hurts. It was painful. I didn't want to do it. I ended up doing it, and then I ended up realizing that I'm good at it. I genuinely think I have talent for fighting, and I like it a lot. But I started boxing for a different reason. 3 reasons, I would say. The first one is I've always been a skinny kid. Always been a skinny kid. And Mexican culture and Canadian culture about thinness and being skinny is very, very different. Like here, it's like if you're thin, it's like awesome. Right, great for you. But in Mexico, everyone would pick on me because I was thin. I was little, you know? And to this day, they say that I'm too thin, right? Like, that's not a compliment, which is very different. So I never felt like I was, I don't know, I felt vulnerable. So that's definitely something that like made me want to pursue fighting. I also got into a few scraps with people. I lost a couple, and that made me want to pursue it seriously. Then Mike Tyson. I remember seeing Mike Tyson. I was like, this motherfucker is a bad motherfucker. So I was like, I want to be like him. And the last thing, and the thing that is the most genuine that got me into boxing, as the silliest one, there's a boxing anime called Hajime no Ippo. And some friends from another state came to my house a weekend, and one night we watched like 8 episodes of it. And for the meme, for the giggles, for the ha-has, I just went to a boxing school and started training. And then I fell in love with it. It's been years. 10 years.
10 years.
Since I've done martial arts, yeah.
Wow. And so 10 years, I mean, obviously you faced a lot of ups and downs. Nobody gets through a 10-year career in martial arts without hurting themselves, without questioning if this is the thing for them, I'd presume. So what sort of obstacles do you think you faced? And what did you do about that?
Well, right now in my career, I am a fighter. But a few months ago, I wasn't. I've been a fighter for a while, and then I stopped deciding being a fighter, and then I became a fighter again. And I'll explain what that means. So for a really long time, I was just fighting. I competed, blah, blah, blah. But I never took it like athlete seriously, right? I was just competing and training 2 to 3 times a week, right? But I was never like training every day, and like that wasn't my life. Until I decided to try it one summer. I was working as an accountant, and then so I would work my 8 to 6, and then immediately go to the gym, and that was every day. I would train every day, and then sparring on Saturday. Sunday was rest day, and then I would train every day, sparring on Saturday for the whole summer. And that showed me what it means to be a fighter, right? A fighter, someone who fights. And it's a tough life. It is a tough life. You're sore all the time. If it's not from the training, it's because you get punched. You got punched, then you're sore, right? You're exhausted on Sunday. Exhausted. You have no social life. It's work, training, and then Sunday sleeping. And then it's work, training, Sunday sleeping, right? And I remember I worked like in the 4th floor of a building, and I would always take the stairs. Never the elevator. Always the stairs. As much as I could get. And every week the stairs got harder and harder and harder. Like I was sore. And then what really scared me, but I kept going, but what really scared me is I never got rocked. I have never gotten rocked actually. I've never gotten knocked down or rocked or hurt. I've gotten hit in the ear and I lost my balance a little bit. I watched the video, doesn't seem like nothing, but I remember being like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought to myself, you know, like, in boxing, because it depends on the martial art, in boxing, I am a defensive fighter. I have great footwork and I have good head movement and I have a great jab. That's my best weapon. But I remember when I had bad rounds, when I had a bad sparring day, you come out of sparring and you're sitting in your car after training and you feel your head hurts. You know, and I thought to myself, man, I love thinking. I love inquiry, and it is dangerous, right? Like the brain damage is a serious part of the sport,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I don't know if I really want this for my life. So I decided to commit to that whole summer. And also when you're training around fighters, I'm talking people who really fight. I remember I trained with professionals as well. These motherfuckers are tough and they're great and they really inspire you and it's a fucking brotherhood that you create in the gym. But it scared me. I didn't want to suffer brain damage. I really didn't. I'm a little hypochondriac about that, and I remember, I don't know, being at my work, and if I forgot something, I would be very anxious about it. Even though forgetting stuff is normal, right? But every single little thing that I would forget, it would get me anxious.
You're like monitoring to see, like, is this a natural thing I forgot, or am I facing repercussions?
Which would be silly, by the way, because my career has been very short, and I am a very careful fighter. And at my gym, we were very careful with sparring, even though when we were sparring hard, right? But it got me scared, so I decided to retire the name of fighter. I didn't want to fight anymore. Get in the ring, fight. And I decided to become a martial artist, right? And that was a very hard struggle because being a fighter was part of who I was. It's part of my identity, right? And when that gets ripped out, there's a big hole in you. You don't know. I genuinely felt incomplete. I didn't know what to do. And the label that was able to replace fighter was martial artist, right? And that's when I started. I said, okay, it's perfect. I'll retire the boxing society and I'll go back. I'll train something new, Muay Thai, and then I'll get good at Muay Thai. I'll compete a couple times, and then I'll do karate, and then I'll do judo, and then I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'll become a martial artist instead of a fighter, right? But I'm a fighter again, and I'll tell you why. I think it was an uppercut. I don't remember, but my nose is crooked. Hook, uppercut, straight to the face, I don't remember. And I went to the doctor because I had some ear problems, and the doctor said, it's actually your nose. Because it's crooked and it's like messing your things up. And she said, you need surgery, right? You need surgery, like you need it maximum 5 years. If you keep fighting after surgery and you do that to your nose again, the risk is too high. So I said, fuck it, I have 5 years to fight, and then I'll retire. I'll become a martial artist. So for now, I am looking forward to become a fighter again. I'm looking forward to get in the ring and beat some people up.
Yeah, so you're saying that injury was sort of an opportunity for you where you got given a sort of timeline.
Yeah.
You were told, hey, you need this surgery eventually regardless, and you said, okay, that's my opportunity a little bit.
I don't want to regret it. I want to fight. I want to fight more. And I want to get pictures of it, and then when I'm old, I want to show to my grandkids, like, hey, look, that's your grandfather. I don't want to regret anything.
I want to be able to show my kids, look, that's Eduardo. Yeah, this guy was on the podcast, episode 13 or 14 or whatever this is going to be.
But it was a very hard period for me getting to understand what I wanted. And I also realized that I also want to be a martial artist. I want to explore many martial arts, and it was at the end it was a positive. Everything is a positive. I realized that I have a timeline to fight, and then that I can also explore other martial arts. I don't have to specialize necessarily in something. Yeah. Good question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So are you like considering wrestling as well? Is your ground game something that you're thinking about?
Yes. Yeah, I want to become a mixed martial artist the old school way. I don't want to go to an MMA school. I want to do it the old school way.
Learn each thing and then put it all together.
Oh my God, I had one of the most fun experiences of my life this summer. So I train Muay Thai, and because I've been fighting for so long, I have a sense for fighting. So I did good in that, and I know how to kick because of Taekwondo, and I knew how to punch because of boxing. And then I was learning this new style, which is Muay Thai, but I felt like I was good at it. And then when I went back home, I was training with at my cousin's dojo. It's not theirs, but like they train there.
Yeah.
Right? And it was karate dojo. And fighting karate guys was amazing. Amazing. It was so much fun. Like they fight so differently. Their stances is so different from my stance, and figuring them out. And I remember I am genuinely obsessed about fighting. I was living with my grandmother during that summer, and I would go back after training and I would just lay down and I would stay up for like 2 hours just thinking, how am I gonna get them next time? And I would think, and then I couldn't wait for the next Wednesday. Wednesday was sparring day to like get him. I couldn't wait, and it was amazing. I met some really good fighters as well. Yeah.
That's interesting. So moving all of this fight to academia and understanding that you're trying to balance that, mental safeness along with the experience, the thrill of the fight.
Yeah.
How are you balancing those things right now?
Well, right now I'm not fighting. I'm living training because I'm lifting weights, but that's it. First of all, I want to get a higher weight class. I want to become a welterweight, and it's hard. It's not always great. You have to sacrifice one thing for the other many times. You cannot do it all. Right? I used to be during late high school and beginning of university. I used to be a sharp mentality, productivity oriented guy. Right? I would just work for hours, hard worker. So fucking unhappy. It was, thank God I met some really cool friends, really nice people. And to this day, it's still hard for me to understand, to rest and to stop and smell the flowers. But now I've learned, like, I was trying to do everything back then, but now I'm making space for what's truly important for me. And that's hanging out with friends, hanging out with my girlfriend, enjoying my time, enjoying my life, doing what's important for me.
Yeah, life is what you make of it. You get what you put in. But you need to take that time to...
But at the same time, like that saying is like, you put more, you get more. I don't think it's that way. Like, why was I exerting myself so much? Like, I want to be productive just so I can get my work... Well, nowadays, I want to be productive and really quick just so I can get my work done, so I can do stuff that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I can lay down in bed and watch YouTube videos. So I can lay down in bed and read. So I can go out with my friends and play board games. Or I could cook. I love cooking. And cooking is such a... I was a cook as well, but cooking is a way to feed my soul, I want to do things that I want to do. I don't want to be grinding all the time. I used to really like this grind mentality, and I understand why. It was useful for me at a period of my life. It's definitely easy to hide many things that you're dealing with work. And it excuses it, it gives it a meaning. It's like, oh, I'm suffering, I'm tired, but I'm working. So that suffering is virtuous, right? And this is good. And then, but it doesn't make sense. It did at that moment, but right now I'm enjoying my life and I'm slowing down. I'm saying, what I've been loving lately? Saying no to stuff.
Yeah.
Just saying no to stuff. I got people saying, like, Emily said, apply for the finance position of the SBS. Look, you're gonna get it, apply. Like, nah. And it would have been a great position. I'm so happy I didn't take it. Like once every 2 weeks, I was like, I would have taken it. But then I say no. I really like my life right now, how it is. Right? Inka Mitler, I don't know if you know her, but she was like, apply to LEAP, apply for the finance position of LEAP, you'll get it. I was like, I don't think so. Being able to say no to stuff, it's the biggest privilege.
It's the ultimate form of self-respect. It's putting yourself first. It's knowing what your time is worth and what you want to do with it. I will dig a little bit deeper into what I said before, though, about making the most of it, because while you are completely right in what you said about putting in the work, sometimes eventually it feels like you're working towards nothing. It feels like I'm just burning out, I'm putting in all this work and I can't enjoy anything. But I think when I say make the most of it, I do include those times of taking that break, smelling the roses, cooking. Making the most of it is living a balanced life. All work and no play, that's not making the most of it. And so
but a lot of people are skipping that part.
I agree, yeah. I'm guilty for that.
I'm guilty for that as well. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault. We've been brought up like this, Look at all the media we consume. It's like the hard worker gets it all. By the way, that's just false. Like, meritocracy, biggest myth of all time. I know.
You think so? You don't think meritocracy is...
It's so false. It's so false. I really don't believe it. Don't you believe in nepotism?
I do believe, but I also don't have the biggest problem with nepotism as well. I think to a degree nepotism can be a problem in the sense that you want the best person for the job. Yeah. But also, if you were to consider, let's say, a golf course owner, and he spent his life tending to a golf course, he understands the fertilizer, he understands his land, and he has a son, and his son grows up alongside him, and his son knows how to maintain the golf carts. His son understands the system. When it's time for him to retire, maybe there are other people out there who understand the golf course industry better, but in that sense of this kid grew up on this course, this person understands the heart and soul of the business. I don't think nepotism's such a big problem, even when you look at politicians. Robert F. Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. Like, they grew up in that family where that experience was passed down, and you can like or dislike their political stance, but it's undeniable that in some cases of nepotism, that family influence, I mean, you wouldn't have been a fighter if it wasn't for your dad. Now, your father didn't give you, presumably, didn't put you in the position to be the fighter you are today.
You gotta hang your belts.
But without that family influence, I feel like...
Well, family influence is different than nepotism, right? And nepotism and meritocracy are opposed beliefs, right? Meritocracy is a very capitalist liberal idea, like everyone starts from the same place and everyone can get to the same place. But that's a false assumption. No, that's false. Not everyone starts from the same place, right? And I don't know. I think nepotism is a big problem. I really think so. I think there's exceptions where it's not that bad, but I think it is a problem, right? And if you believe, you have to believe in nepotism because it's true. Right? But if you know nepotism is true, how can meritocracy be true?
Yeah, right? I think nepotism certainly it can be problematic for both the culture and also for the individual. Like if you never left your small town and you work the same job forever because it's the job your dad started, and like I think that's problematic. You need to have adventure in your life, but also I tend to shy away from the claim that nepotism as a whole is bad, just because, again, I believe that there's that.
I think it's anti-capitalist, and I think that's the most funniest thing ever. I'm not a capitalism fan. I studied it, and I think the mechanisms that make it work are fascinating. Fascinating, the mechanisms that make it work. One of my favorite economists is Hayek. His theory on prices and how it's amazing, and the price mechanism is just wonderful. But I'm not a big fan of capitalism itself. It breeds a lot of inequality. But what I really find fascinating is that capitalists, people who own the means of production, like the really rich people, the kind of nepotism that really affects people, they are actively participating in an anti-capitalist action, which is nepotism. Nepotism is anti-capitalist.
Yeah.
And what I find fascinating is For circling back to like the consumer is a rational actor, that's such a mistake on liberal economics. You know, we are social beings before being rational beings.
Yeah.
It's obvious. It's obvious. If I work my ass off to build a business, I want my daughter or son or kid to inherit it. Of course I want to. Like I understand that. I don't think it's like. I think the consequences of it can be very bad. I'm not necessarily saying, oh, you're a bad person because you want your kid to inherit your business. Everyone would like that.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone would like that, but I know I find fascinating that the capitalists are constantly acting in anti-capitalism ways, and they still benefit from it. But I don't know. It's amazing. It's truly fascinating. I really like it.
So let's dig into why you believe that the meritocracy. Do you believe that it doesn't exist, or that it isn't the best way to operate society? What was your belief on that?
I think that in most scenarios it doesn't exist. I think so. I truly believe so. Yeah. There's a lot of people, incompetent people in power. Would you agree?
Certainly, yeah.
How did it get there?
Power vacuums. Willingness to accept responsibility when others aren't. Are my guesses.
I don't think that's. I really don't think that solves the whole question. I think it's a lot of it is during nepotism, and of course, like let's go a little more back in history, right? I bet there were super amazing women or black people or immigrants that were capable of doing a job, and they didn't get it because of discrimination.
Certainly, yeah.
You know, discrimination, which is a fact and still happens today. It's first of all anti-capitalist. Which it sounds like I'm a capitalist, but no, it's anti-capitalist, and I say that because capitalists tend to be, like the owners of the means of production sometimes tend to be very discriminatory, and they are the ones perpetrating the problem. But like discrimination it's the opposite. It denies meritocracy. Sexism denies meritocracy. Homophobia and transphobia denies meritocracy. So it's not true. Who gets to enjoy meritocracy? Those who don't get discriminated. And when we live in a world where a lot of people get discriminated, like you and I, at some periods of our lives, meritocracy doesn't apply to us. That's how I see it.
Interesting. So it's like the whole system is kind of developed in a way that only a particular race or gender they have a higher likelihood of succeeding.
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that yes, that is how it works today, but no, in the sense that liberal society wanted to create political emancipation, and technically by political they wanted to create true emancipation. They wanted to create equal treatment for all, right? In a liberal democracy, so. Like, it doesn't matter if you're brown, black, immigrant, women, trans, non-binary. You have the same chances. That was the idea. You have the same chances because we're all rational. But we already said that, we're not rational. We're social, and then there's a lot of biases and there's discrimination, and so the system wanted to work in an equal way, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
So would you contest that there has been a time maybe historically where things were more even, or do you believe that right now we are in the most optimistic segment of history in terms of our awareness of these problems, our attempts to level them out?
I don't know my current opinion on that because I'm still learning on it, but it depends on the thinker you ask. You know, I was just reading Silvia Federici on the witch hunts. Right, which is basically women's genocide. They just killed women for trying to be revolutionary, which is insane. They were privatizing common land, and women were like, no, and then they were like, oh, she's a witch, kill her. It was genocide on women, right? And I think Federici, you can make the argument that she argues that during that time period, men and women were a little more equal, like the people who were not the royalty. Like
all the peasants down at the bottom, you're all zero.
Kind of more equal, and then after the witch hunts, women's rights just went to the trash, to the garbage. They were non-existent after the witch hunts, right? And then Rousseau would say like, oh, in the natural liberty before society, we were all equal and great, and then we got together and it sucks. So it depends on the thinker you're asking. I don't know. My personal opinion, I don't know yet, but I am pretty confident that meritocracy is not. I mean, don't you know someone who's really fucking hardworking and capable of doing great stuff, and they just are stuck?
Shit, man, I feel like you're describing me a little bit.
We all feel this way, you know. Of course we are capable. There's probably the son of a CEO of, let's say, a private company, not like a public, like a relatively small private company, who is a fucking incompetent guy, not even trying, but like his father or the mother are trying to get him into the business, and maybe he doesn't even want, right? And maybe we would be better fit for that. But, you know, meritocracy, it's a myth. I used to believe in it, and it definitely gives you. I think I liked meritocracy when I was in my sharp mentality mindset. That's one of the reasons why I work so much, because meritocracy gave purpose to my effort, and it justified my suffering. I'm very tired every day. I'm putting in the fucking hours, but I know I'm gonna like get somewhere. And of course I still have some of that deep inside me, you know, that like I gotta work hard and smart. You know, you get what you put in, but I don't know. I've grown to learn that meritocracy is under today's society. It's mostly a myth, and it's a myth to keep that to make us cope. You know, but I don't want to believe it anymore. I think if you stop believing it, you can make a better plan for your future. If you know it's not gonna be that simple, you can make a better plan on how to succeed and achieve extraordinary things in the future.
If you're not like pinning all of your actions on some potential payout in the future that may never come, you can take that time to cook and smell the roses and be around the people you love. It seems like that's what you're saying.
Also, your plan could shift from I'm just gonna work hard to I have to do something else than just hard work. And when you ask, I've seen a lot of interviews of like really successful people. And some of them are still deluded, saying that it was just hard work. But most of them said, I was lucky. Like, I was in the right place at the right time. And, like, you can doing this podcast or going to more social events definitely increases your chances of being at the right time in the right spot. But it's not the hard work that we think when we think of hard work, right? We think of sharpening our tools in our craft, bam, 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 bam. But I don't know, don't you know, like, a great mathematician that has a shitty job, and they're so smart, and they have the best at their craft, and they have a shitty job, you know? It takes more than hard work. And meritocracy, just don't sit down too much, it's just hard work. I don't believe in it, I really don't. Because of all the things, but most importantly, because of inequality and discrimination, which are facts.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to dispute that there is discrimination, that there is inequality. It's really interesting hearing your belief around this, because it is different from mine. Like it seems like you're not certain, but you've thought about it. You've put a lot of thought into it. And whereas maybe I'm still earlier on in the stage, but I tend to have a more optimistic view. I really do believe, because the thing is, you and I can discern when somebody is incompetent. When we have a professor in the front of class, or when we have a boss that isn't doing a great job, that hard work is what goes into your ability to discern that this person doesn't deserve the position, that they aren't the right person, or that they're not doing the best job. So I tend to agree with you, nepotism's real. It's not always good. It is anti-democratic, or anti-capitalist.
Also
anti-democratic, as well.
Anti-liberal in general.
Yes. I agree with you that it sets our society up so that things are irrational, and in the sense of, consumption, in the sense of production.
And meritocracy wants to be rational.
And meritocracy wants to be rational, exactly. But I think there's the character of a man, the character of a woman, the character of a person, whatever, is built in that hard work. I'd actually like to know your opinion on this, but do you think you'd be the same man you are today if you didn't spend all those years in the gym, if you didn't spend all those years taking those punches, doing that hard work.
I didn't take that many punches.
Well, because you're, no, exactly, yeah. But you hear what I'm saying, though. So
Yeah.
would you?
I'm not denying the usefulness of hard work. You want to be competent. People want to be. We need competent people. But what I'm saying is, meritocracy is a very simple question for a not so simple reality.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you are more competent, you will have an edge. Yeah.
I think we can definitely agree there. I think that's for certain.
But I don't know, if you're a black woman, you lose kind of that edge, you know? And maybe not for you, maybe not for me, but there's people that will try to oppress someone for whatever arbitrary reason. And that is an obstacle
Yeah.
that certain people have to face and certain people don't. Right? So, yeah, hard work and competence will set you apart, definitely.
It'll help, but it's not everything.
But it's not everything. I mean, I was just reading this study because I'm doing a LinkedIn, I'm doing a LinkedIn workshop for my job, and I need to read studies and blah blah blah. And how to Canadianize your resume, for example. That's a workshop that my boss, Luna, a wonderful boss, is working on. And during my research, I ran across a research paper saying that if your name sounds like not from here, you get a worse chance to get hired. You know, and it makes sense, discrimination, but yes, hard work will put you apart, but there's certain arbitrary things that will affect you, of course.
Interesting. And with the growth of AI and the whole scanning phase of resumes and websites with web interactions all being sort of monitored and reviewed by AI, I wonder if that's going to be worsened or softened over time, if that's going to be less of an issue.
We know that AI can be discriminatory because it's trained on data, and there's a lot of data out there that is discriminatory. A lot of it, many books, for example, before a certain period were just awful. So we know that AI can be, it's not unbiased, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. So you just brought up your position here with the school, and I think that's a great segue. So what do you do as an international peer? What does that look like?
Well, I have my office at Bloomfield 402, and when during my office hours, I'm there to help any international students or any students that need my assistance. I am a more informal bridge between students and university, right? If you don't want to directly talk to a university staff, you can talk to me. And, well, I know people, I can make things happen, and I will help you as much as I can.
And you can beat me up if I need you.
Well, I remember some people had a tuition problem, and we had that fixed. Some people really just need to connect and find a community. But then that's the other part of my job as an international peer mentor. I do programming, I do events. You were one of those. The karaoke,
yeah.
Right? It is my job as well to try to see what international students want out of their university experience and make it happen. I think it's a wonderful job. I really, really enjoy it.
What are some of the things that your day-to-day would look like?
My day-to-day, office time. I spend a lot of time in the office. First of all, because it's wonderful. I have my bongos there. I have fidgets. I have 2 couches. I can just close the door and take a nap. It's awesome to have an office. I have darts and a basketball.
Nice.
So it's a lot of that. And well, I'm a talkative guy. I like to yap. So as the semester goes on, more people come to my office to talk and just hang out. And that is one of my favorite parts of the job, hanging out with students, getting to know them. And I have gotten to know students, and I really, really appreciate them. It's very nice. And then marketing. There's a lot of marketing, posting stories and posters and memes. I try to make my memes not cringy as fuck. It's hard to come up with not cringy as fuck memes. I try to promote university student events, right? And then the other side is the programming, like going to events, talking with people to make it happen, budgeting, buying stuff, this, that. Yeah. I love it. Great job. If you ever want to stop by my office, say hi. I'm constantly there.
I will. I
Awesome.
will, for sure. So how would you describe your leadership style? Especially, it sounds like a lot of your position isn't exactly formal power, but it's just about making people feel comfortable and getting them connected with the things that they need. But how do you navigate that? How would you describe your leadership style?
I mean, I said this in the Emily podcast, but it's definitely people oriented. Like, I care about people. I genuinely care about them. Like, I don't know. I worry for them. I've been through stuff, you know. I saw your podcast. I know you've been through stuff too. But life is not always easy, and I've been through some stuff, and I am able to empathize with people that are going through stuff, or just people. I really empathize with people. You know, a lot of my friends also tell me, you're like, I met this guy and he was saying some crazy fucking shit, but at the same time he was funny, and I wanted to help him. You know, I wanted to help him. And they're like, you have so much compassion for red flags. I was like, no, I don't know. There was a period of my life where I was definitely not a good person, like big time not a good person. I hurted people, in not a good way, and I regret it. I do regret it. If I could say something to the people that I hurted in my past that I'm very ashamed of, I would say I'm sorry, constantly. But I also know that during that period of my life where I was a bad person, genuinely a bad person, I was very lonely, and I suffered a lot. So I have this empathy for people who other people say are bad, or other people say they're assholes or whatever. I have this empathy for them because I was one, and I know it. I like to think that it sucks to be bad. I know there's exceptions. I know there's some people that have genuine malice in them, but I also think some of them don't. Most of them are uninformed, or just full of anger and hate that it's not their fault necessarily.
The way they grew up, or the things they faced in their life.
Yeah. So, what I mean to say is I care a lot about people. I really care a lot about people. I teach Spanish as well in Maculata. I know the name of all my students. I love them to death. I would genuinely take a bullet for them. I love them. They're great. I do care about people. So when you care this much about people, it gives you the motivation to do stuff for them, to lead them if they need to be led. And put yourself out there.
It's an important quality of a leader to be caring as well, to put people first. So
yeah.
I'd love to hear that.
Thank you. You need to check some?
Yes. It happened. I ran out of damn storage. I fucking knew it was gonna happen.
How long have we been talking?
A little over an hour now. It's great though. Oh shit. My phone's at 3% battery too. So, I think the video portion of this episode might be over, unfortunately.
That's okay, no worries.
What I'll do is, for those of you listening, thanks for sticking around. For those of you watching on YouTube, enjoy this picture that I've decided to put up. We're going to dive back in. Sorry about that, but I am excited to get the rest of this information out of you. This has been a very fun conversation.
Thank you.
What are your plans post STFX? You're a finance guy, psych guy, you're a fighter, you've got this 5-year window, you speak multiple languages, you've been all over the country, the list is endless. So what do you want to do?
Well, I need to get a job. Whether or not, I would like to stay in Canada, which means I need a work permit to legally stay here. I need to get a job. But I want to get a job. I want to get some work experience. I would love to continue studying. I want to get my CFA. I want to get my CFP. I want to get my broker's license. And at some point, I want to get a master's, maybe in economics, maybe not in finance. I would love to continue studying. I'm very excited for structure in my life. University can be all over the place. I'm very excited for structure, and I'm happy that I'm excited for it because I know it's inevitable once I get a stable job. Fingers crossed. Because I wanna get back into serious training, and serious training requires serious structure. So I will continue fighting. I'll work. I'll continue fighting. I want to be. Yeah, I'm just excited for my future.
That is really exciting.
What about
Masters.
you?
will be-
What's your plan after STFX?
Oh man, I got a lot of irons in the fire. I like to think that I'm keeping my options open. My resume, I started working pretty young, and I like to think that I'm open to experience and trying different things. So it's really, for me, there are three different options. Option A is the most likely one, which is I'm going to go back out west, up in northern Alberta. I'm going to rejoin the forestry industry with my years of experience in that industry on top of a BBA. I'm hoping to do my honors thesis. It would be an easy opportunity for me to get into low-level management, work my way up some corporate bureaucracy, pay off the debt, and then focus more on where do I want to go next. The United States is a big thing that I would love to explore. Yeah, oh yeah.
Sounds complicated, right?
It would be nice to head down into the States, especially like the flyover states. I had an opportunity to drive through the U.S. this summer, and I mean, Montana, South Dakota, Wisconsin, these states are just gorgeous. They would be, it'd be a great pleasure.
I really want to go to Utah.
Yeah, Utah.
I really want to go to Utah. I want to hike there so bad.
Utah's high up on the list. Colorado's high up on the list. Florida, of course, would be amazing to go visit, although I couldn't live there, I don't think. It's too far away.
Immigration is going to be affected now. They may close it big time.
Yeah, it's likely that there will be, but my intent also is to be an educated, debt-free man looking to raise a family. Yeah. So it's likely that just like those advantages that we discussed earlier, it's likely I may be able to reap some of those. If not, I mean, it is what it is. Canada's an incredible country. Alberta is an incredible province. I grew up there for most of my life, and I can definitely find peace and happiness there. That's my plan B, I would love to work some sort of corporate bureaucratic job where I'm working in relations. I'm a representative. Did you see just recently like the weirdest collab? Like I think Coca-Cola and Oreo or some like really weird collab happened, but I want to be the guy that works for Coca-Cola that knocks on the door of whatever, the Olympic liaison, and says, how do we connect my product with you? How do we do a high volume sales? How do we partner up and come up with a new collaboration? I think that would be incredibly cool. It's a bureaucratic, like non-specific answer, but it's because most bureaucratic jobs are non-specific. There are a lot of opportunity. Like for example, in the forestry industry, without yapping for too long, Japan buys the highest quality forestry products in the entire world.
Interesting.
Fact. And they buy most of it from Canada. Fact. Do you know what?
The lumber industry in Canada is very big. Which, by the way, is going to suffer a lot if they put, because I'm sorry to bring it down, but
I disagree.
The tariffs that they're going to put in the lumber and dairy industry in Canada are going to tank big time.
Yeah, the tariff plan is kind of scary for sure, but I'm not too worried about softwood lumber, especially if Poilievre gets elected, because he's made it a major part of his economic plan is that he's going to fight specifically for lumber.
Yeah.
And I'm, like I said, I tend to be an optimistic kind of guy.
Yeah.
I like to believe that things are going to go well, even if I'm not a big fan of populists.
You know what? This Poilievre guy, controversial guy, he has said some horrible things about indigenous people, which I think is deplorable, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm hoping, Trump already won. I'm hoping that if he wins, he has this very nationalistic policy going on. Like most conservative people. It's like, we need to bring back the industry to our country and we need to focus on ourselves, manufacturing in Canada. Just like the guy in the US, like manufacturing in the US. Very traditional conservative rhetoric, right? I'm hoping that the nationalism of Pierre and the nationalism of Donald Trump are going to clash together. I really hope he has the cojones to stand up to this guy instead of sucking up to him, both because they're both conservative. I really hope he puts Canada first.
I anticipate a fruitful development between the two of them, based simply off of the fact that if America and Canada could work this well, this smoothly for all these many years, we've got free trade, where it's a major way to supplement both countries' incomes. I know the U.S. doesn't necessarily need us, but it's certainly we're their closest ally in the world.
But they want
So I'm optimistic that there'll be a good deal there. But either way, like to move away from politics.
I hope so.
Forestry is going nowhere in Canada. And as I was saying, Japan, they buy the highest quality of wood. Do you know what the highest quality of wood in Canada is called?
No. What?
J grade. J grade, Japan grade.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so what a lot of these companies do is they'll fly representatives to Japan, specifically to meet with people, to be that corporate liaison that handles those high volume transfers, like I said earlier. So that would be another option that would be incredible. And then option C, the black swan, the luck, would be one of these endeavors takes off. People care about the music, or people start listening to the podcast, or any of the, my YouTube page grows further to the point that it's monetizable. Like, it would be incredible to be an entertainer, to be not an influencer. I don't like that title, and I don't like
it either.
A lot of people are like, oh, Adnan's an influencer, and it drives me nuts, because it's like, no, bro, I'm a rapper. I make music. I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I'm an interviewer. I'm a journalist. I want to learn what other people have to say. I want to hear them out, and I want to give them a platform. Like, don't call me a damn influencer, bro. You know what I mean?
So much respect for entertainers, professional ones. Like, they really do everything they can to make people smile and laugh. Oh my God, good professional entertainers, they have all my respect. All my respect. I am amazed by them. So, best of luck on your endeavors, generally.
Thanks, man. I'm trying. People seem to be entertained by what I'm doing, but it's just, it's finding a way to turn influence into, like, I don't know, to monetize it, to find a way to support my team so that I'm not, in 6 months from now, everybody's burnt out and left the team and it's just me again. Like, you need to find a way to sort of make a business out of it. But ultimately, it's about making people smile. So that's interesting. So your future plans are just find some stability and focus in on that career. And for me, it's a little bit more, we'll see what the options hold. I want to play a lightning round here with you. I'm going to ask you 10 fun questions, some bro-coded questions.
All right.
Nothing too heavy to end the episode. So let's find out. What are you saying, wings or burgers?
Burgers.
Burgers, really?
Yeah. You a wing guy?
I'm a wing guy, man.
I mean, they're awesome,
for sure.
But I love sandwiches. They can be everything. They can be anything. So, burgers.
I probably used to would have say burgers, but as a gluten-free man now, there are some gluten-free breads.
Intolerant?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
There are some gluten-free breads on the market, but they're not to that level yet. And so I'm gonna enjoy my wings for sure. Beer or cider?
Beer, big time.
Beer, yeah.
The first time I got drunk, it was in Germany.
Nice.
So, and we have great beer in Mexico as well. So beer, big time.
Yeah, 100%. I'm more of a cider guy, but again, it's that gluten intolerance. I used to love beer, and then once I had to switch into something a little bit more healthy for me.
Cider is wonderful. It is wonderful. I really like cider, but growing up in Mexico and in Germany, you gotta have your beer.
Yeah, that only makes sense. Ronaldo or Messi?
None of them. Well, Messi, but
Messi.
none of them. None of them.
What? Ronaldinho? Who do you?
No,
like?
I'm not a soccer guy.
Soccer, not soccer
Not a
at
soccer
all.
guy. No, not at all. But Messi, because Latin American. Ronaldo's Latin American too. Is he?
Well, Ronaldo's Portugal and
then
Messi
no.
is Argentina.
Messi
gotcha.
all the way.
All right, beach vacation or mountain adventure?
Very Canadian question. Beach vacation.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's fair. You got to visit Turkey someday.
I would love to. I really, really would love to. It's one of the destinies that I'm very excited to see. I see some beautiful pictures, and there's so much history in it. So much history.
Very ancient.
I would love to visit. Yeah.
Yeah, Turkey's a really interesting place geopolitically because it's kind of right in the middle. It separates Asia and Europe.
Yeah.
And so many paths, so much history, so much travel has been done right through that strip. It's been such a contested part of the world.
Very globalized as well.
It's unlike, like, you hear, probably the most globalized place I've seen in Canada is Montreal. Montreal was people of all different colors, speaking all different languages, and it was very, very multicultural. But Istanbul is like a whole nother beast of just like everybody's there. Summer or winter?
In Mexico or in Canada?
Canada, we'll say. Summer, yeah. And so you like winter in Mexico?
I like winter in Canada, but I prefer summer. I like every season. I think snow is beautiful, but it gets too cold sometimes. Oh, and it gets dark super quick. It gets dark too quick. And that's the thing I don't like.
Yeah, every season above ground is a good season.
Yeah.
Eh? Yeah. Now, morning workouts or evening workouts?
Evening workouts. Yeah, brain work in the morning, body work at night.
Yeah, that only makes sense, especially if you're liable. Now, of course, you wouldn't get hit, but if you're liable to get hit, then it would only make sense you want to get your day out of the way first.
Although I always sparred in the mornings. When it was, I always trained at night, but I would always get sparring first thing in the morning. Like 8 o'clock, I would go to spar. I would wake up at 6. I would have cold feet, cold hand. I was sweating. It was so nerve wracking. I had a great sparring partner, and he was a power puncher. It was so fun fighting with him. Yeah. But yeah, evening workouts, although most of my sparring was done in the morning.
That's fair. Comedy movies or horror? Thriller?
Comedy movies, horror videos. Horror YouTube videos. Although I love comedy. I just love comedy. Like, comedians are so amazing to me. I really, really like comedy.
By horror YouTube videos, do you mean like horror video gameplay?
Or horror video gameplays, fucking creepypastas, anything that's...
Yeah.
I love amateur horror with all my life.
I wish the camera was still recording. Shit, no. Dogs or cats?
Dogs, big time.
Nice. Sneakers or boots?
Nowadays, boots. I used to be a sneakerhead, but I'm moving away from sneakers.
And lastly, country or hip hop?
Hip hop.
Hip hop.
Yeah,
Nice.
big time.
Well, Eduardo, I want to thank you for having this conversation with me. It was a lot of fun. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with our listeners / viewers?
I would like to say that I would like to use your platform to say, and then as people that other people look up to, because I'm sure people look up to you. I'm genuinely sure of that. And not to brag, but sure, let's say people look up to me.
People look up to you.
We have a responsibility, and then we have a responsibility to be very informed and to spread not hate but peace. And I would love to take this time to say, well, shout out to all my queer folks out there. I love them to death. Shout out to all my international students, my minorities, women. We are what makes the world extraordinary, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We are us, the minorities, us, the diversity. We are greatness. Yes, we are.
Yeah. Shout out to all of Eduardo's friends and mine too.
Awesome.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for listening. I encourage you to hit subscribe or hit follow or whatever method you're listening to this through. Make sure you check out Eduardo. I'm going to make sure his Instagram page is tagged in the bio. Sure. And yeah, thanks for coming, Eduardo. Thanks for listening, everybody. And that's it for this episode of Pursuit of Motion.
Awesome.